Lakerland, Duncan here. On take a second, let's talk about my dream scenario for this off season. Now, first and foremost, please like my channel, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comment in the box below, hit that bell for notifications, and come find me on Twitter, Google Plus, and so much more. Now, let's talk Lakers. Let's talk off season. Let's talk a dream scenario that could happen, even though I have us spending a ton of money and really going well into the luxury cap. I can see the Lakers spending the money because we've done it in the past. We have no issues pushing the limits on our salary. We have no issues with that. We have no issues because we are a global franchise, a trademark. We are a billion-dollar franchise, and we spare no expense to build a super team. So let's talk about building this super team. Remember, Magic Johnson runs the Dodgers, and the LA Dodgers have one of the highest payrolls in all of baseball. Magic wants superstars. Magic wants to spend money to buy championships. So let's talk about what he's capable of. Let's talk about a little bit what we can do here. Okay, so first of all, the first thing I say is I want to talk about Paul George. Paul George knows OKC is a dead end. Even though he's running in a playoff, even though he's playing with Westbrook, he knows Westbrook's a one-dimensional player that is concerned about Westbrook. Paul George is nowhere near the talent he was in Indiana. He doesn't have the team he did in Indiana, and he's really took a step back. And honestly, the only one that could potentially be on the roster in the next season or two is Carmelo. And the last thing Paul George wants to do is get stuck on a contract on a team that really isn't going anywhere. Paul George wants to win. He wants to be on a young, uprising team. He knows the Lakers have a ton of money. He knows the Lakers have a solid young core. And they didn't really make a ton of trades. I can see Paul George coming. Now, with Paul George on board, there's another person over there in Golden State that's having issues with the coaching staff, that's having issues with the players. Kevin Durant is being rumored to opt out of Golden State. Now, I think this does two things. One, I think Kevin Durant leaves the Warriors. I don't think he's happy there. I think he realizes that Golden State is beginning to decline, and they can't win without Curry, and Curry's ankles are broken like glass. The problem is here's a young team in LA, the Lakers. They have a guy in Brandon Ingram who Kevin Durant actually likes and kind of mentors a bit. I can see KD coming in and playing a power forward / small forward role for us. And I can see him being excited to come to LA with Lonzo, with Paul George, Ingram, Hart, and so on, Kuzma, and so on. So then, we got Paul George, we got KD. At this point, I believe we start going out on lower level. Like, we go out, we sign Nerlens Noel to become our backup center. Well, he missed most of the season with an injury on a surgery that really he should have played through. He's disgruntled. Dallas don't really want him. I don't see them matching any offer. I think we can pick Noel up for a relatively cheap contract. Specifically since we already have Paul George and Kevin Durant with our young core. Noel would be pretty excited to come in and take that Channing Frye roster spot. Now, I then believe, then we go out, and I do believe we re-sign Isaiah Thomas. And this is the one I believe a lot of people are going to give me ridicule for, but here's the thing. if he's healthy, he can come off the bench and he can score. Playing point out, he can score. That is what we need him for. He boosts our free throw average. He's a good 3-point shooter, but he can score. You have to surround him with guys that can play defense. Well, that won't be a problem with Paul George, Josh Hart, Kevin Durant, Kuzma, Ingram, Noel. You've surrounded him with guys that can play and cover his defense, cover up his defensive woes. Suddenly, he fits this team's bench pretty well. And would he be happy as a backup point guard? Well, he's really playing for a contract. It'd be a 1-year contract. He'd be playing to prove that he can be a starting caliber point guard. But he may find a love in coming off the bench and having a specific role. It may not be just about being the starter so much as having a role. And he can really make a role for himself coming off the bench and simply scoring. So with that being said, I then see us hitting the luxury tax and bringing back Brook Lopez and Julius Randle. And I know we're going to be so far into the luxury tax that we'll be spending who knows? Who knows how much we'll be spending. But this is not the first time we've done that. We've spent well into luxury cap tax in order to build championship caliber teams. Now, listen to this roster and tell me it's not worth paying for. So my point guards are Lonzo, Isaiah Thomas, and Alex Caruso. My shooting guards, Paul George, Josh Hart, and I went out and I spent $1.5 million and I brought in Derrick Rose, who again is a guy that simply just score us a couple points. You're a reserve. That's all I need you for, is to come on, score a few points. If we have some injuries, play a few minutes. My small forwards are Brandon Ingram. I put Kyle Kuzma as my backup small forward. I think he's one of the best post-up small forwards in the game already, and he's only going to get better. I stretched and waived Lou Deng. I brought in and drafted Grayson Allen, who I believe has the talent if he can just get if he can just wake up and not be so immature. You got Paul George there and you got Kevin Durant there, both of which can really guide him into maturity. So he's my reserve small forward, Grayson Allen. My power forwards are Kevin Durant, Julius Randle, and for roster purposes, I put Thomas Bryant there. My centers are Brook Lopez, Nerlens Noel, and Zubac. Now think about this. My starting five is Lonzo Ball, Paul George, Brandon Ingram, Kevin Durant, and Brook Lopez. Tell me that's not one of the best starting fives in all of basketball, maybe even ever. Okay, now, your backups, the bench players, are Isaiah Thomas, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, Julius Randle, and Nerlens Noel. Solid defensive players surrounded by a few scorers. That's a solid bench. You got reserves, Alex Caruso, Derrick Rose, Grayson Allen, Thomas Bryant, and Zubac. That's a solid young reserve core, or, well, at least a solid core. Derrick Rose makes it a little bit not so young, but you got Caruso, you got Grayson Allen, Thomas Bryant, and Zubac are all really young players. You put Rose into the position of a mentor type as the reserve role, and suddenly you have one of the best Laker rosters, one of the best rosters in all of NBA, and quite honestly, I don't see any team coming close to that. I don't see any team competing with Lonzo, Paul George, Ingram, Kevin Durant, and Brook Lopez, who all play monster minutes. And then when you have guys coming off the bench like Noel, Randall, Kazuma, Hart, Isaiah, Derrick Rose, Grayson Allen, Thomas Bryant, Zubac, Caruso, when you have these guys coming in, you've built a championship caliber team. And that's what I have to say. I'd love to know what you guys think, Lakerland. Comment in the box below. Hit that bell for notifications. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like it. Share it. You can find me on Twitter, Google+, and much, much more. Thanks for watching. Peace. Go Lakers.